Welcome to Well and Worthy Life podcast. I'm so glad you're back. Okay, this week is all about gratitude. So I'm going to have a solo podcast right here. So you just get me. Don't worry, it's going to be a short podcast, but maybe while you have a break and you can go out for a walk, you can listen to this podcast. That's one of my favorite things to do is get my body moving when I'm listening to podcasts. So I hope you're doing that same thing right now, or maybe listening in the car, or maybe while you're preparing your Thanksgiving meal. Anyway, I am so grateful that you are here listening to the Well and Worthy Life podcast. Let's get started about gratitude. This is going to be a different take on gratitude. You're going to think like, why are you grateful for these things? But I think it's really important. I talk about this in my balanced wellness method, along with balanced eating method, that mindset is where everything starts. I don't care what you're starting with. We have to start with mindset. And we can create the mindset that we want by focusing on gratitude. Gratitude, even in the things that shouldn't, like, it doesn't even think we should be grateful for those things. Okay. So we have a choice. We have a choice to look at things in a negative light or in a positive light. And that really will affect our journey, how we view this. In fact, research has shown that. So if you are more of a pessimistic type, I would really encourage you to think about practicing gratitude every single day. Maybe writing things down. 3 things. It takes less than 2 minutes. Write 3 things down every day that you are grateful for. It will shift your whole perspective and shift your day. So let me tell you some things that I'm grateful for that maybe on the outside, you're like, again, why is she grateful for these things? And I actually wrote a blog post last week on this. I am grateful for menopause. And you like, why are you grateful for menopause? Well, let me tell you why I'm grateful for menopause. The main reason I'm grateful for it is that I am still here and going through it. And well, actually, I'm postmenopausal at this point. And here's the sheer truth. We are all going to experience menopause if we live long enough. And I'm so grateful that I have lived long enough. And that now I have this story to share with you on going through perimenopause and menopause and postmenopause. And I have a way to look back and know what I wish I would have known so that I can share that with my clients. I think that's really important. It's one thing to study it and know it, but when you've experienced something and then worked with several clients that have experienced it, and look, we all experience perimenopause and menopause different. There's no right way or wrong way, but how we get through it and journey through it really starts with our mindset and being, flipping that script and thinking about the positives instead of the negatives. Also, being very proactive and learning as much as you can and investigating. And I'm always telling my clients to make sure you are advocating for yourself. I think that is key, to advocate for yourself and don't accept, oh, well, that's just the way things are, because it doesn't have to be. Menopause can be or postmenopause can be some of the best years ever. Did you know that menopause technically is just one day? It is that one day that you have gone 12 months without your period. Okay. So menopause is just one day. It is that perimenopause and postmenopause that you will hear women complain about. But like I said, it can be the best years of your life. And if you want to hear more reasons why I'm grateful for menopause, go head on over to that blog post and you'll see. But I really am grateful for menopause because I would not have this platform to help other women on their journey. Okay, so what else am I grateful for? Now, this is going to be like, you're going to be like, what? I am grateful for my divorces. Yes, that's plural. If you have just started following me and you don't know, I have been married. I'm on my third marriage, the last marriage. This is the last. And why I'm grateful for, first of all, my first marriage was 17 years. And it took 2 years to get divorced. So I actually was married to him almost 19 years. And that is where I had 3 sons, wonderful, wonderful sons. So I'm so grateful for that marriage, even though it didn't turn out like I had hoped, that I have these 3 wonderful, wonderful men now. They are grown men. So I am so grateful for that. And I'm grateful for that divorce so that it led me on another path. Now, I have to just preface this with saying, we don't, as young little girls, go, oh, I'm going to grow up and get divorced and then divorced again. That is not something that I would wish on anybody. And I always tell everyone, stay in your marriage unless there is some reason that you just cannot. And to be honest with you, we went through lots of counseling, and I don't want to get into all the details here, but it was something that I prayed about and I really struggled with. But at the end of the day, I knew it was the best thing for me and my boys. So I am grateful that for the hard times, because it made me the woman I am today. And it gave me a heart for other women that are going through divorce. And it gave me a platform to talk to more of my friends. I mean, the divorce rate is very high. So I've actually had friends that have gotten divorced since me that have come to me to ask my advice. So I really do think that we can take, and I talk about this a lot on all the episodes, a lot of the guests that I have on here take their mess and make it their message. So divorce is not the end of the world. It is sad, and we talked about this in my episode where we talked about some grief and life transitions. And it is a hard time to go through, and much less once, but then I did a whole podcast on shame and divorce too. There's a lot of that. And then you go through it a second time. And then you get married for a third time, and it's not always easy. I can't tell you that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best marriage ever. I constantly am working on it. I think that that's what makes me who I am today. And my husband is working on it too. So marriage isn't always easy, but I am grateful for my divorces, because I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't gone down those paths. Another thing I'm so grateful for, and I think you will appreciate this one, I am grateful that I got to take care of my stepfather who had Lewy body dementia. So my mother died at 75, and right after she died, I realized that there was something not right with my stepfather. We kind of knew it before my mother passed away, because my mother would say things about him not remembering or getting lost. But to be honest with you, my mother had cancer, and that's where we were focused. We were focused on her because of her life and death situation. And then after she passed away, I ended up spending a good bit of time with my stepfather and realized that, yeah, something was wrong. And I could not figure out what was going on with him. And finally, I went with him to the doctor. He had an episode where he thought my mother was still alive and told me he was looking for her a couple of times. And so finally, I went to the neurologist with him. And the neurologist said that he had been watching my stepfather for Parkinson's because his left side was weaker. and he had a little tremor, but with what I told him, he diagnosed him with Lewy body dementia. So I am grateful for the next 4 years that I had with my stepfather. We had some great times. We had some really tough times, and I learned a lot about being a caregiver. And it gave me a heart for all of the caregivers out there. It is not an easy thing. And that's why I'm so passionate when I run across caregivers, because I want to make sure that, yes, you're being a good caregiver, but you've got to take care of yourself too during that time. The stress of being a caregiver is tough. Oh my gosh, it's really tough. And so you've got to learn how to manage your stress. We talk about that in Balanced Wellness Method all the time too, that if we don't manage our stress, we feel like we're holding our breath all the time. That's how I felt when my stepfather would call, or once I put him in memory care, if they would call me, I felt like, oh no, what's happening now? And I found myself holding my breath. So we have to learn how to breathe and take care of ourselves so that we can de-stress. I learned so much from my stepfather, and that time I would never trade anything for the time I had with him. It also made me much more aware of my own health and how I want to practice good health so that I don't end up with some sort of dementia. Women are more likely to have dementia than men, and a lot of it can happen once we start going through perimenopause and menopause and losing that estrogen. So we have to nourish our bodies right, move our bodies. There's just so many things. It's this lifestyle that we have to create for ourselves so that we do have longevity, and not just longevity in our bodies, but longevity in our minds. That's another one you're going to be like, why is she grateful for this? But losing my parents, and I've lost both of my parents, and oh my goodness, my father died at 59, and gosh, I was only 28 years old. So he has been gone as long as he was in my life. He's been gone 28 years now. And that was one of the most difficult things that I at that time had ever gone through. It was awful. And so why am I grateful for that? But I'm grateful for the time that I did have with him. I'm so grateful for the talks that we had before he passed away. He had cancer, and so we did have some really great discussions. And I'm grateful that I don't have any regrets. My father knew exactly how I felt about him. There was never anything that was left unspoken with him. And so I would tell you, if you're having a problem with somebody, just make sure that if they were not here tomorrow, that you wouldn't have any regrets, that you've done your part. And then I lost my mother at, gosh, I think it's been 6 years now, when she was 75. So 6 years ago. And, that was a tough one too. But why am I grateful for it? Again, I'm so grateful for the time I had with her. So grateful. So you may not know this, but at 60, she was diagnosed with cancer. And we actually said our goodbyes at one point. And it was so, I thought, I cannot believe I am losing my mom. And yet she lived 15 more years. And those 15 years, I got to ask her about all the recipes. I got to ask her things that I thought I would never get to ask her. And so I didn't think I would get teary, but I'm so grateful for that second chance. Again, I have no regrets. She knew exactly how I felt, and she wasn't the easiest person to take care of as a patient. She required a lot out of me, I felt like, but she knew how much I loved her. And we were very close. We had some issues. I mean, doesn't everybody? But she knew exactly how I felt. I never regretted all the things I did for her and that she did for me. I mean, like, that was just part of our relationship. Again, nothing was ever not said. I told her so much I loved her, and I showed her, and she showed me. And I know today that she and my dad are looking down on me, along with my stepdad. So loss and losing parents, it is tough, and it can make the holidays tougher sometimes because you're like, you miss them and you miss that, especially when you've lost both your parents. It's like that family. But being grateful that you had the time and then knowing that they are looking out. I'm so grateful for that. Which brings me to something that I know you know why I would be grateful. I'm so grateful that I have a relationship with God because when everything goes bad, I know I can trust him. Hard times come, hard times go. Good times come, good times go. But being grateful for everything, the good and the bad. It's easy. It's so easy to be grateful for all the good things, right? But we can find gratitude in the bad things. They make us who we are. And I think that's something that is really important. I even think about my children and when they go through hard times and how much I want to make it better. But at this stage of their life, I can't make it better for them. They have to go through hard times, but it makes them so much stronger, so much more resilient, because we know bad times will come and good times will come, and that they will all pass also. That is one of the biggest things I've learned at 57. Bad times don't stay and good times don't stay. So I hope this holiday season that you really are finding gratitude in not just all the positives and not just all the good things, but the positives and some of the things that maybe you haven't looked at it that way before. Maybe you need to shift that mindset. So I hope this helps you, and I hope you have a very wonderful Thanksgiving with any family and friends that you're with. And remember to breathe when things get stressful, because when you get a lot of family together, it definitely can get stressful. So if you need to go shut yourself in a closet for a little bit, go do that. Take some deep breaths. And my biggest advice to you, if you've got a family member that's real controversial and just wants to, hammer at you with all the negatives, is just try to avoid them so that you don't have to go down that road with them. There's just no point in it, right? Okay, have a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving. And don't forget, coming in January, I am revamping Balanced Wellness Method. I'm super excited about this. So 1st of January, be on the lookout because we will be starting a new session of Balanced Wellness Method, and it is going to be super great. I can't wait. See you guys soon.